Well, thank you so much, Frederick, for joining us on the Community Conversations with Alex and Dydine, the podcast through Base Range. We're so excited to speak with you and learn and pick your mind and grow together in this conversation.
Absolutely. Welcome to our humble studio, online studio.
It's a pleasure to meet you both. I'm so excited to be here. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.
So Pilates and yoga and everything, how healthy-wise, mentally and physically, how did you? Because like just we talked about earlier, your parents are from Ghana, and back home, Pilates, yoga, it's unheard of.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, very much.
Yeah. So how did they come about, and how did you embrace it? Because people surrounding you may not have embraced it.
So actually, my mom was a person that inspired me a lot growing up. I can remember like waking up and she would have her VHS tapes going on in the living room, and she would do like mat Pilates in the morning, just about like every morning before school. So I kind of had like that just in the background, but I'm a dancer too, technically trained ballet dancer. Other styles too, but ballet was like my strong point. This is one I loved and just like pursued professionally. And so with the ballet, we would always have like Pilates integrated into the training just for like injury prevention and stuff like that. Right. So I was really big on the injury prevention thing. So I did not want to hurt myself, but also I was also interested in like the growth aspect of just like movement. And Pilates for me was just something that I saw helping me move forward in my journey for dance, like connecting the mind and the body. I think there's a big disconnection with that. Oftentimes you can feel as if you are performing in one way and then you look at it and you're like, that wasn't really what I was going for. Right. But Pilates for me was able to combine both the mind and the body together. So I was able to embody who I thought I was in my head. And so that feeling is very addictive. It's a very thriving feeling because you just feel more of yourself. You know what I mean? And so I got that with mat Pilates. When I moved to Lambertville, New Jersey, I began to take reformer Pilates. And I think that was just like the biggest changer for me because it just deepened that awareness in a way that I've never just could have imagined. And then I just had to figure it out what it was for myself. So I danced a while, about 2 or 3 years in Lambertville, New Jersey. But being a dancer is difficult, like to survive as a dancer alone. You have to have other skill sets. So I ended up moving back to Columbia to stay with my partner. And then I moved back to Columbus, Ohio, just for like a fresh start and to pursue Pilates. There's a great opportunity there for me to kind of just get started and get my feet wet with Club Pilates. And so I was able to work with a couple of different people who owned a couple of different studios. And since then, just getting a better understanding of how I can help to rehabilitate not only myself, but my community, you know what I mean? And then for also, Pilates has given me a foundation to be able to support myself in a way that dance could not. And so my goal one day is to have like my own dance company and to, you know, be able to have all these dancers, but I want to really give them the tools that made me successful and also so that they can be able to, you know, have a sustainable dance career. Because I feel like Pilates is a great skill set that they could use to make money on the side while still dancing. And that may make it more likely that they're able to live, you know, and pursue their dream for a longer period of time. Just having to like, you know, pivot and, you know, start something different, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And then try to get back into it because it takes time to like build that skill set. So if you're able to be almost ingrained with that as a younger dancer, that's something you can carry into, you know, into life. I think everybody ages, everybody's bodies end up going towards, you know, ailments and things like that. And I think Pilates helps to just keep you rejuvenated, keep the body young and supple. And that was what it was almost made for. He made the Pilates to essentially enhance the go-getters and allow them to have enough energy to not only do their job, but to also have enough energy at the end of the day to enjoy their families and to enjoy community and things like that. I think so much of us invest so much into our work and we have nothing else to give to other people. So finding that balance is like tricky, but Pilates has been able to helped me find it not only in my body, but I think when you find it in your body, that you can also manifest it in outward relationships
Yeah.
and ways of thinking and moving in life. So
Yes.
starting to see those benefits, but you don't realize the investment until later.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so for the lay people out here who don't know like the biggest difference between yoga and Pilates,
Yeah.
like how would you explain like what specifically is Pilates for people who don't really exercise or kind of venture into that realm of physicality?
So Pilates is wonderful because there's a big focus on like core and trunk support. So building support for the spine through your abs and then allowing movement to kind of unfold through that place. But it's also great for like mental clarity. It's great for building a mind-body connection. It's great for injury prevention, also injury rehabilitation. Like a lot of people who have like hip replacements and stuff, yoga becomes, or like wrist injuries, yoga may become not as accessible because you have to have yourself held in specific positions for a while and stuff like that. Whereas Pilates, to some extent, mat Pilates kind of has that same regard, but reformer Pilates is more accessible because it allows you to modify for whatever injuries that you have, but also gives you the ability to still find strength in a way that you really won't find anywhere else. Like, and so the difference I think for yoga and Pilates is that yoga has more of a spiritual mindfulness component to it in regards to like building that breath focus. And Pilates does too, but I think it offers more so of a mental clarity aspect. I think there is a sense of mindfulness because both have a connection to your breath, and when you're able to slow yourself down, you're able to connect deeper to yourself.
Yeah.
So they're very different, but they're very similar. Like people will say, "I'm not doing Pilates, I do yoga." But for me, I feel like you should always be wanting to add more into your movement practice. You're never trying to take away from your movement practice, right? Like
Yes.
that doesn't make any sense. You want to add to your skill sets. You want to continue to grow. So but I mean, everybody has their own reasons for doing certain things. But.
Do you find yourself the only Black person in the room doing these type
Oh,
of?
oftentimes, yeah, my entire life. Ballet, Pilates, we're not typically in these spaces.
No.
And I feel like that's also, our history. I feel like these ballet and Pilates have only been available and accessible to certain demographics of people. I think now we are starting to see that it can be accessible for everyone and the benefits that it can give everyone. And so, especially within like Black and Brown communities, I think that our communities could absolutely use something like Pilates just for like our mental well-being. I've read so many books on just like collective trauma and how our history can affect who we are today. And I think Pilates can be a tool to create healing within communities. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that's like the bigger picture of where I would like to see it. And I think that we're slowly moving toward that direction.
Yeah, that's really beautiful that you didn't give up. You always found ways to help yourself. If the dance happens this way, then you like being able to, I was gonna say, to flow like water.
Yeah.
Still.
And you have to, and that just is like growing up, the word it wasn't flow, it was be like water. I think it was a boxer, someone who kind of brought that like idea, but the idea that you could also be like soft and fluid, but you could also be very strong and dynamic, and floods and hurricanes, they can take over cities. That's water, you know what I mean? And I feel like like within human bodies, you also have that same ebb and flow, you know what I mean? You can allow yourself to be fluid, and or you can be the complete opposite. I think knowing when to choose those things, because life asks for both. You know what I mean? You have to be able to kind of just like pivot, or else you'll find yourself stuck. And then there's a whole bunch of mental things that come with that, right? You start to resent your situation or the people around you because you believe that they may contribute to that situation. But when you have tools to help to understand, then it makes the world for you not only your world, but the people around you but better. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so when you're able to bring that into a community,
Mhm.
then it creates a culture, and everybody has that same mindset. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, and focusing on that
You
mindfulness, and
normalize it.
yeah, you normalize that.
Yeah.
And that it's the thing. And so I grew up in Texas, and I played all the sports at one point. But specifically, I played basketball and ran track. And it was probably around, I was probably 16, 15, 16 when my coaches and my dad had started to heavily suggest that you should get into, yoga and Pilates, and I was like, okay, I don't really know what that is really. I'm used to like just the like sheer forcefulness of the physicality, right? Like those are explosive sports.
Yeah.
And so I was just focused on that part of it. And so when they had sort of introduced like the mats and the breathing techniques, I was welcoming to it. But what I found so interesting was that physically doing Pilates was really, really tough for me. And I noticed it was because of my core.
Yeah.
It's like, if you have a weak core, you're going to have a really hard time doing a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's when I realized, like, I have a totally different respect for people who do Pilates and that type of exercise. Because it challenges you.
Different kind of strength, for sure.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing about Pilates also is that it was made, you can remove it, it was made for soldiers. It was made for men originally. He was in a prison, and so a lot of the soldiers at war who were injured, he transformed their beds into essentially what we call reformer Pilates now. So he was able to rehabilitate them and then place them back into war. But then he realized that he was placing them into war, working against what his bigger picture was. So he fled and moved to New York City. And then in New York City, he was working with ballet dancers. And so in that work with ballet dancers, I think that became more of like what was marketed, because people wanted to have a more sculpted body, the long tone, that was like what the people wanted, you know what I mean? And so that is what changed it, because now you don't really see any men doing Pilates. It's really just for women.
No,
I
it's
have
just women. Yeah.
2 men in my studio, 2 or 3 men in my studio, and about 300 women. But it's so funny how it can be originally meant for. I mean, it's great for all people, but just because the insight of knowing that it was made for shoulders can showcase what kind of strength that they were building. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So many people now are doing Pilates and they're getting stronger, but you're essentially training them for war. It's like, and so you're really giving them a really sense of like being and confidence and strength and resilience, all the things you need to like push through life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You need to have that armor, or else you'll be able to just kind of be swayed wherever the world wants you to go.
Crazy. I did not know the
I had
history
no
of
idea.
it.
A lot of people don't.
No, I didn't. I really thought it was meant for women.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was one of those people. And what was his name? What was his name?
Joseph Pilates.
Joseph. Oh, it's last. It's a last name.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's
So Pilates is not an ancient practice.
No, it's been around for about 100 years. It's been scientifically tested for about 45 years, but that was a while ago. So it's been around for a while. And there's a lot of science that goes into it, because they want you to, one, work the body in all directions. And then 2, you're also, because there's so much of a breath component, you're also oxygenating the body. So you're removing toxins from the body. You're adding a sense of liveliness to the body.
Yeah.
So, and then once you start to do that, I feel like because you're giving your body so much pure oxygen, healing does start to happen in your body, and especially to your joints, and like your body really starts to heal itself because it has what it needs to. And so many people, especially in our communities, feel as if they have to live with what they have. Like, oh, this is just aging. This is just a part of what comes with my age. When really they just start given the tools to understand that as you age, you need to incorporate different practices into your body to sustain what you have. And the earlier you start those things, the less likely that as you become older, your body will age as quickly.
Right. As we traditionally think.
Yes. Now, I think this is just a question for I guess for our community, the Pilates is it tend to be expensive.
It is, yeah.
Because it's not everywhere. Maybe the equipment. I don't know.
It's a couple components.
Yes, tell me about it, please.
Well, the exclusivity for sure. It was definitely made to be very specific because, like I said, it was meant to push the people at the top further. You know what I mean? To give them the ability to, and so it's not something that the people at the bottom really get to experience.
Right.
But now, because I think capitalism, right? People want to profit off of Pilates because they see the benefits of it. And so like different studios are being brought up, and so many of the studios, the cost is high. So it still excludes a lot of people. So which is why I love mat Pilates. So I'm starting a brand. It's called Fly Fresh Fitness, and the beginning of the brand is the mats because that's the foundation for it, and it gives something to people that they can bring home. Like a reformer is about $4,000, so I still haven't gotten that yet. You have to like, so it's a wonderful tool, but not everybody can just purchase one to have in their home because they're also big too. But a mat is more accessible, and there's so many other practices that there's 34 classical mat exercises that were originated on the mat and then placed all into the reformer bed. So if the reformer is not something that you're able to have access to now, mat Pilates can still offer a lot of the great benefits in the same way that like mat, like yoga or something like that. Because you can also use your mat to do yoga as well. You know what I mean? So it gives you more access to more.
Yeah. So in your studio, you're gonna try you're working in making sure it's accessible to almost everyone.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely like to have, I definitely intend on, because I'm using the Pilates to try and fund my dancing. So I definitely want to keep it at the price point that it is currently at now. But I'll definitely have more programs and ways for people who don't have, the finances or things like that to be able to get into take classes. Because I understand the importance of that as well.
Also like knowing the techniques that you can, that's incredible. Also having access to the techniques that you can do at home or on the mat, like you just said, that's very special, and that gives more access for people to learn and be able to teach each other, and and not feeling like they need that $4,000 to even
priced out of this thing that everybody should have access to. And everybody should have the tools to be able to implement into their lives.
Absolutely. I hope your studio comes up very soon.
Oh yeah, me too. We're gonna keep manifesting it.
So how did you connect with Best Range, and how did the shoot go?
So Base Range emailed me, and also I went to go look on their Instagram page, and it was just all women. So I've been doing content creating at times, and I kind of like do the influencing thing on Instagram. And so you'll get a lot of different brands that write you, but a lot of them are like scams and like stuff like that. And so oftentimes what's a telling factor for me is when there's no men on the page, because it's like, there's nothing for me to sell, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so I had that same inclination when I looked at the Base Range page. But then the email kept coming, like in regards to like communication. So I messaged back, and then they were like, so I was like, maybe this is real. And so I ended up going, and it was real. So that was dope. But I had a wonderful time. It was unexpected for me, so that was kind of random, but it was also exciting because it was random. And then it was a professional experience. I've never really worked with a clothing company that was international, right? And then also the people, they were just like beautiful. Like Maria, I believe was her name. She was so nice. We were talking about, I'm wearing these Vibram shoes. They have your toes and stuff like all separated. And she says she loves to walk barefoot, but people oftentimes judge her for walking barefoot. So she's like, these shoes might be wonderful to, have that same grounded sensation, but also have shoes on, so the world isn't judging you. So the whole thing was fun. The clothes, I love the layering and the styles of the clothes. I was like, I need to purchase all of this because it was just so dope.
Oh yeah,
the colors, the neutral colors.
Especially in the winter, they have the best winter stuff.
Yeah, I saw this sweater. It was and I was just like, I need that sweater. So yeah, I'm gonna be looking at that page for the winter stuff.
And
Absolutely.
and yes, because he has been doing garments for women for a very long time, and then the idea of not gender being fluid and not thinking just like doing this product just for women, and also understanding that there are things both women and men can share and look wonderful and kill it out there. And so this was the first shoot with men, and which was really, really exciting.
It was so exciting. I was so honored. I was like, wow, this is like history, right? Like, I need to document this day.
Yeah.
And make things for normal people. And I think that's the best line for Best Range is sustainability, yes, but also remembering that we're making clothes for regular people. We're not, not looking for that perfect, the worldly perfect heights and
or like
figures,
proportions,
commercial, yes,
real everyday people, and not to mention the connection between the fabrics and the person and the planet. I think there is a very strong and interesting connection that you don't see very often. Just with people and with life. I feel like that's something that Base Range that we've been able to, I think, cultivate and to share with as many people as as are willing to bring that into their lives. And so, did you feel like you had more of a spiritual connection with Base Range? I know it's a photo shoot, and there's only so much you can experience there.
Yeah, I did, and I remember one of the other models, Julian, was also saying the same thing. He was like, "This just all feels like the stars are aligning. Like, everything just made sense. Like the people made sense, the clothing made sense, the environment made sense. Like nothing felt forced. Everything just felt kind of organic and natural, and the relationships, like all the models were talking to each other. Everyone was talking to each other. It wasn't like a awkward space to be in. It was really wonderful, and so it really did add to the experience, because I left like, why was that so much fun? You know what I mean? I think it was the humanness of it all.
Right.
It wasn't like you were having to forcibly be something other than yourself. You know what I mean? It was almost like they were asking you to unravel more layers of who you are versus trying to put on this persona. Or I remember she just sat us down and was like, I just want you to be yourself. I just want you to just let whatever happens naturally happen, and just allow it to be fluid, and you don't have to pretend or anything like that. And just already starting with that intention, I think, was great, because it made it clear to everyone that this wasn't whatever happens. Not performing.
Right.
Well, also the professionalism that also went around the room. Everybody was doing their job, but it didn't feel like you were like,
That's interesting that you say to sort of take off the layers that, or at least the way I interpret it, take off the layers that you have that you like showed the rest of the world, that maybe to protect you or whatever. And Marie, she kind of penetrates, or at least hopes to like see who you are, in that relaxed space, so you don't have to, like you said, be something that you're not. It's just, I think it's a clearer flow of the energy that you bring.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is nice, because it's rare, even in like just regular conversations, you feel like you have to put on not like all the time, but like people feel like they have to put on some type of mask to present themselves.
Because the expectations, and I'm one of those people who have that awkward. I can be awkward in social settings. Really awkward.
No, same. So I get it.
And I don't know how to start a conversation or to end the conversation, and I don't know how to have small conversations, and then I get even more awkward. I want that deep conversations all of the times, and that can be offsetting some people who just wants to ask you what where are you from,
Yeah.
what do you do, and that's it. I like the sky. Oh no, things like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think the within best friends or within any community, like even sitting here talking about Pilates, because we have, I think one of the reasons why for me I like podcasts is that we have enough time and space to really have a conversation and not think about time, not think about I don't know, marketing, or nothing of anything is other than learning from one another and seeing one another and understanding one another. And so even, for me, I used to be very scared actually of Pilates. And the first thing when you think of it, the first thing you think about, for me as a woman, the first thing you think about is like, oh my God, how is everybody gonna look at me in that studio? Everyone is already fit, everyone is already, strong, and you're out there out of breath, you're looking all crazy. And you just fail.
Yeah.
But you just made
like,
it
is
so
she okay?
simple.
What is going on over there?
Was she okay? Yes. And that's made it so approachable.
Yeah.
As you were speaking, it felt, it's doable, Yeah.
And that's the kind of environment I try to create when I'm, because like you said, it's scary. You're working with other people, and I didn't think that other people would think about how other people view them. But I was having conversations with the members. We read this book. It's called "The Body Is Not an Apology." It's like a self-love book, radical self-love book.
Yeah.
But I'm really big on trying to create culture. So I wanted to create a culture where the members, because we do have a lot of different body types in that studio.
Yes.
And so I want them all to feel just strong in their bodies, right? Because just because you have a bigger body doesn't mean that you're weak or that you're unhealthy.
Yes.
You just have a naturally bigger body. But but there's a lot of trauma that goes around just like bodies in general, you know what I mean? And gyms are where you see a lot of that trauma just kind of unveil themselves, because there's a lot of negative self-talk and people just are really hard on themselves. But I feel like with Pilates, it's almost like a meet yourself where you're at kind of thing. Like there's like how Marie, we're not here to force or pretend or anything. With Pilates, it's very much that. There's no, when you pretend less, when you perform less, you let your body just naturally do what happens. You almost approach it with more of like an exploratory approach. Like, where am I today? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then that's when beautiful things happen. You know what I mean? Then you surprise yourself and you really see where your strengths are, and you also see where your weaknesses are. But you take both and you just kind of roll with it. You know what I mean? You don't judge yourself for the weakness. Or, you know what I mean?
That's a really beautiful thing.
It is.
Because okay, again, not to bring it back to myself, but as an athlete, as a former
athlete.
Listen, I don't speak to people about this very often, so I'm actually very passionate about this. And so, like fitness, right? That's people who I feel work out regularly, who have some sort of like regimented workout schedule, even if it's like twice a week. I feel like people who do that have a different understanding of their body, or maybe a more deeper understanding of their body than people who don't. And for me, I've always felt like I've had an understanding of where my body's at, because I was fortunate to be very athletic as a kid 15 years ago when I was in my teens, and I felt like, okay, well, I'm when you're a kid, you don't really think about your mortality. You don't think about when you're getting older, about when you're not going to be able to do these like super athletic things. But as I've gotten older and into my 30s, I feel, okay, well, like now life has started. Well, you start to feel like the little aching backs and and so I've had to really take a step back and think very honestly, like, where am I in my life, like my physical exercise journey. And I love what you just said with Pilates, is that I feel like it almost holds a mirror to you, to where if you're ready to go on this journey to transform a certain path, like it's here for you. And so you can just be honest with yourself and like you said, here's my strengths, here's where I'm not so strong. And so where can we go from here?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
like that's where that, like you said, that's where the magic happens.
Yes.
It
Where you
does.
get stronger and you can address the things that you're not so good at.
Yes.
And I feel like that you become a better person.
Yes.
Then
Because you
you're
apply that to your actual life too.
exactly
Yes.
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so I think that there's something
Yeah.
magical there. There's something very grounded with it as well.
Yeah.
And maybe in this age,
And that's the importance of the mind-body connection, right? That's the
Yes.
importance
Yeah.
of why we want to connect our bodies deeper to ourselves. Because the majority of the world lives from the neck up. They live in their
Yeah.
head, they live in
Right.
the imagination, or they live in the stresses of life, you know what I mean? When you're able to bring it out of your head into your entire body, and then you allow the rest of the body to show up for itself, because
Yeah.
the head doesn't work by itself. It's an entire system that needs to work as one in order for everything to make sense.
Right.
Yes.
So when it's only working from the head up, there's so many other small muscles that are dormant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you don't
Yeah.
bring awareness to those muscles, then your body starts to, you know what I mean? You go haywire in the head because you are so much in your head. The rest of your body, you lack connection, and because of like social media and all the things now, like there's so
Yeah.
many things to distract you from deepening that connection to yourself. And so then when you do take the intention to deepen that self-awareness, to build a connection with yourself, it pushes you levels in advance in regards to other people who may not even have a practice of at all. You know what I mean? They're
Right.
just stuck in their heads.
Right.
So even just
Yeah.
walking, even just moving 30 minutes can do
Yeah.
so much for your body.
Mm-hmm.
But many people don't, which is it's really sad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you see the effects that it has on the bigger picture,
Yes.
Yes.
it's almost like, if you're not doing these things for yourself,
yeah.
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 Yeah,
Huge
disservice.
disservice.
Yeah, I'm as you're speaking and talking about that, I'm remembering when we were scrolling through your Instagram page, Alex was like, "Oh my God, he lives a full life. He's a happy man." That's the first thing we saw. And as you're describing, what Pilates and yoga and everything does to helping connect your mind and soul and body is because you learned it very early on, hearing or seeing your mom doing it. Do you remember a time where you were disconnected from it and maybe something like is there or were you always just like really
I honestly think I
into
have
it?
always been my parents are Ghanaian. I feel like there's a very spiritual aspect to the way that they approach life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think I just naturally I'm naturally drawn towards things that almost resemble that sense of spirituality in a sense, or
Yes.
help to
Yes.
enhance it in some way.
Yes.
Like ballet for me, it just helped me express my creativity. And I feel like
Yeah.
expressing your creativity is also a sense of like spiritual awakeness. You know what I mean?
Yes.
A lot of people don't have the ability to create or to,
Yeah.
and also with Pilates, it's the details that help the bigger picture. And I think when you pay attention to the details, it allows the bigger picture to make sense. And also when you just allow, like I'm really big into like self-help books and stuff like that. And it all boils down to leading with like your heart or leading with like your breath. And so the breath is the main component in every practice, right?
Yeah.
And so there's so much power in
Yes.
our breath. And so if we are able to use our breath to invigorate us, then you just allow yourself to express, you know what I mean? And I think the biggest thing is expression. Like if you allowing yourself to laugh and to cry and to exude all these emotions that your body is holding. Because when you don't do that, then you hold it in, and that also causes like actual stressors to your body,
And
which
you're
you'll see in ailments in the stomach, gut health issues, things like that. And so when you realize how much, like, because like, I have been doing it for so long, you see how it is directly connected to everything.
Everything you do. Yeah.
Everything. And so when you want, and I love living a life that is full. I love living a life that that is peaceful and has balance. And I'm still trying to figure out what that means. You know what I mean? Because I started Pilates so young. I don't think that I even for myself understood the benefits. It's just now that I'm seeing my life
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow, I don't know. And again, it's the tools. When you have the proper tools,
Yes.
you
Yes.
thrive. And then when you
Absolutely.
don't have the proper tools, it makes it a bit more difficult.
Makes it
It
challenging.
does. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Now, not to put on the spot. Can you give us, okay, can you give us like one technique? Show us one technique that we can do.
Actually, yes, that's a great question.
Can if not to put you
Yeah.
If there's one thing that we can do to
Yes.
start out, or just anybody who's
or
watching,
anybody,
this,
yes.
what is the one thing that people need to be able to get into, implement into the
Somebody
lives?
who's never done it before,
Yes.
like me.
I think the biggest thing is just simply breathing and allowing yourself to breathe. Even just inviting 3 breaths into your day. One way that I like to do it is through meditation, but you could also just have your hands just resting on your stomach or on the side of your body. And then as you inhale, you just want to feel the breath through your lungs expand. So you breathe in through your nose.
Mm-hmm.
And as you exhale, you just blow out of your mouth like you're blowing through a straw. And then inhale again. And exhale. Last one, nice full inhale. And exhale. That's it. That's the first thing you can do to
That's
just like, that's it. The first thing you can do is breathe. And then after that, the rest kind of unfolds. But with Pilates, so I can also go, I can do a whole
That was
class.
yoga, not Pilates.
But with Pilates, you start with the breath as well. With Pilates, you start with the breath as well.
Yes, yes.
So let me actually, I'm going to bring you down to a different level here. Take you to my mat real quickly.
Yes, please.
Oh. So on it back.
Is the mat the same as the yoga mat?
So the Pilates mat, they require a bit more cushioning because there's a lot you do with your spine. Some yoga mats are really flat, but some do also offer cushioning.
Yeah.
But the Pilates specific one is like a little bit more cushioning.
More cushioning. Okay.
So with the mats that I made, they're a little thicker just so that you can really move and mobilize your spine.
Oh, you make them?
Yeah. So these are branded. They say Fly Fresh Fitness on them. And so this is the brand that I'm trying to slowly build into becoming a bigger thing. Yeah. So I want to send you some mats so you can be on the same wave.
Yeah.
But so the same thing with the breath. So for like abdominal work, I think the core is one of the most efficient things you can do to just help to train your body. And so this ball, if you're able to have one, I sell them for my brand, but it's a wonderful contact cue because it allows you to just get a better understanding of your body. So laying down, if you have a ball or use a pillow at home, you lay onto your back, and as you exhale, you just want to gently press into the ball. And what that does is connect to your pelvic floor. And so your pelvic floor is wonderful because it helps to improve your posture. But if you have lower back pain, strengthening your core can help to alleviate that pain. It's just really the starting point for all wonderful things. If you have a strong core and you have a great understanding of your breath, then those are 2 just wonderful things that'll set your wellness practice up for success. So you can start like doing chest lifts for the core. So step 1, you can just exhale as you press into the ball. And then this is tabletop. So this position here, you can see my legs in tabletop, is an active abdominal position or an active exercise for my abs because my abs are holding my legs in this position. And so the goal here is to maintain a neutral spine. I don't want to lift my pelvis up when I'm going into a chest lift. I don't want to arch my back when I'm going into a chest lift. I want to have my tailbone heavy. And as I'm exhaling, I want to try to round my upper body to my lower body, maintaining a flat lower back and engaging my core. So pressing into this ball here automatically turns it on. You're not finding it. Your body naturally will kick it on, and you can lay back down. And then you just do that about 8 to 10 times, just really finding that lift and pulling the belly in. And also a big thing too, sorry, I'm rattling, but is understanding how to keep the belly button drawn into, so a lot of the world, I'm going to unbutton my shirt here, but it's just to show and engage my core.
That's
So a
so
lot of the world lives in this area where they just kind of let the organs just kind of hang out. You know what I mean?
yes.
But we want to some degree, really focus on as we exhale. We want to pull our belly button back towards our spine, so you keep the support in your core and your back.
Yeah.
So if you have your hands on your stomach, it helps to bring awareness. So right over your belly button, as you inhale, you feel that, and as you exhale, you're just slowly pulling your belly button away from your hands. And you want to do that throughout every workout that you do, powerlifting, anything. If your stomach's just hanging out, then you're not drawing your organs to the spine. The organs are just free to hang, which then means that you have no support in the areas that need support.
Right.
You want to continue to move with that sense of support, because a lot of the stomach just hit, like people are like, oh, my stomach's hanging out. If you just focus on breath work, on pulling that belly button to your spine, you'll change how the look of your stomach is.
Right.
It's not that you have weak abs. It's just that, I mean, yes, you do have weak abs, but you could breathe and focus on that breath and retrain your abs. You have to do 100, what's it called? The thing is the consistency of what you're doing. So if you are going to do just breath work, you have to do it 3-4 times, a week, 2 times a day, you know what I mean? So that your body is able to build that muscle memory.
Right.
Yes.
Pilates is low impact. It's not like Orange Theory where you're like burning a lot of calories or you're sweating ridiculously. Your body really, it has to be a practice. It has to be I do this 2-3 times a week before you'll start to see the results. 10 classes, you begin to see a difference. 20 classes, you get to feel. 10, you start to feel. 20, you start to see a difference. And 30 classes, you have a whole new body. That's the ideology of it all. But it requires 3 to 4 days a week of consistency. And that's like with anything. If you're going to see a therapist, it has to be consistent before you start to feel those benefits for real.
Right.
And the same thing for Pilates. So a lot, but breath work and that navel to spine connection, and those 2 things alone will set you up for success for real.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And that's something people can be able to do at home. And we're going to add your Instagram page so people can find out more about your brand. And hopefully we all start a journey of, healing our bodies and our minds,
Yes.
The world needs more.
I want to try to make more content to give people tools so that they can do these things at home, because it makes such a big difference. And I know that if the world begins to look at their movement practices, just shifting how we look at it, not necessarily judging our practice, but just embracing, and meeting ourselves where we're at, I think it could really just change the world. Because I think it will also then accept each other for where each other are at, versus having these expectations and ideas of how people should be. You know what I mean?
Yes. Then
Anyways,
we have
less conversation.
then we have less worries in the world because people are happier. You can go to war happy.
Right, that part.
That's true. But that's something that and we're very big on kindness, on finding ways to make kindness an attractive thing, particularly now in this day and age. But it feels like it's filling your own cup. Like when you strengthen your body, you strengthen your mind and your soul connection. You're filling your own cup that you're able to give to other people instead of constantly trying to find the next dopamine hit wherever it may be. And so I think that's a common practice in anything in life, is just finding ways to get into yourself so you understand who you are, what you are, and how you can give that to other people to learn and grow themselves. So I very much appreciate what you've just done there, just demonstrating the actual physicality. Because look, I'm a very visual person, and unless I need to see stuff and play out first before I do it. But I think we appreciate that a lot.
I'm definitely practicing.
Please do, and I'll check in to see how you guys are doing, so we can say what.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This was a really wonderful conversation. I learned so much myself, and I hope people who will be able to watch or listen or read, because we write blogs about it as well, they will be able to take one thing at least to incorporate in their own lives.
I hope so. I definitely had a wonderful time. So thank you for being a safe space to just talk and commune. I love when I can do this with other people. So
Yeah.
thank
Thank
you.
you.